I don't think our listeners want to see your cat's ass.
I am the cat's ass. Ooh, I have a book to read.
No.
I should read more of my book tonight.
Yeah, you're going to be up all night dispatching.
Yeah, I might as well read. Might as well
Exactly.
educate myself.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, changes in the industry, you know how it is.
I do. I'm currently trying to turn off this printer because this flashing light in the background is bugging me, and I chose now to do so.
Why do you care about a flashing light that's behind you that you can't see?
See it. Because I see it. Because we see each other. So I see myself. It's one of my favorite parts of this show. And
Of
at the
course
same
it is.
time, I see this printer that is flashing with a green light in my background for whatever reason, and it's bugging me.
Maybe
And
it's low on paper.
no, it's got paper. It just won't die. It just won't shut off. I don't know why. I don't have the
Unplug it.
patience or time to deal with it. And this is not the place. This is the Towing Life Podcast, as you said, episode 131.
Yep.
Canada's #1 weekly podcast that can be reached by visiting our website, www.towinglife.ca, emailing us at thetowinglife@gmail.com, or by visiting us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. If you're watching over on the YouTube side, do not forget to comment down below, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, all that good stuff. Even if you are listening over on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you listen, their podcasts are available. Do not forget to review, leave us a 5-star, and head on over to the YouTube side, follow the page as well. It's a free way to support the show. Look at that, me getting this stuff out of the way right away.
It's almost like you're in a hurry or something.
I am in a hurry. It come to my attention kind of last minute that I've got to cover a dispatching shift tonight. That I was not expecting to cover up until about 10 minutes ago. So we are on a bit of a time crunch. That being said, I promise, just like I make the promise to my wife every week, that I will focus my time where it belongs, and right now that is into our podcast.
Wow. You promise your wife that every week?
I break that promise every week.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
True story. She will tell you I'm shooting about maybe 15% a week on that promise. In fulfilling it, I will focus on you, honey, and not be distracted by everything that's going on in the towing industry. I try my best, but I fail miserably quite often, put it that way.
Let's get a little Miss PlainGuy update. How's she doing at work, working in the towing industry?
She's awesome. Honestly, she's probably the hardest worker that I have. And I don't say that because she's my wife. If anyone knows me, and you know me pretty well, G, I don't treat anybody differently. I don't care if you are my mother, sister, or in this case, wife. When it comes to work, I take it very personally. I take it very seriously. And I will not cut slack no matter what you do for me or in my life. And so, no, she is a very hard worker. The Impound is... The Impound is something with all the new TSEA laws that have come out, all the changes, all the, she's obviously responsible to overview all the billing practices that we do for any of these Impounds. Her, just when she thought she was getting comfortable, we decided to kind of switch everything around and make her life a little difficult. But she's done a phenomenal job adjusting to it. So, yeah, it's been busy. Impounds. I mean, you ever see where you go on those stretches? And that's what we're on right now. I mean, it seems like we're getting stunt drives, right? Which is 50 over the speed limit, like a couple, like one a day almost. A
nicer
DUI,
weather's here.
like, yeah, well, exactly, right? People are driving faster. Nice weather is here. summer, summer feeling night sometimes when it's about 7
You could
degrees
drive
and
with your windows open now and not freeze your off.
your gender neutral
Yeah.
dangly bits off. Yep.
Yeah.
It's true. So the nicer weather is here, so people are, out and about a lot more, and it's creating a lot more of that stuff. But I don't know. It just feels like our overall call volumes feels like it's slowed down. But
Mm.
impound related incidents, whether they be MVCs, suspensions, DUIs, all that kind of stuff, seem to be up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, no one's going to complain when you're doing that kind of work, I guess. But
Yeah, it's decent paying as long as it
uh,
does pay.
as long as it does pay, right? And did you see the post out? For those of you that didn't see it, there was a post out recently. I want to say it was Mark Graves that put it out on one of the Towing Canada groups. And it was talking about, to see again, and we're not going to get into the whole thing, but it was more the abandonment issue in Ontario.
Yep.
Okay. So 30 on average, the numbers that we seem to be pulling, speaking with companies all over the province, is 30% of vehicles are abandoned in towing yards.
Wow.
That's a high number.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is a very high number. So one of every 3 vehicles that you bring into your impound is getting abandoned and left without payment.
Mm-hmm.
What you do with those vehicles can have a big effect on your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you are simply just scrapping those vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
you're working, you might not be working at a loss.
Yeah.
Right? Like the way we look at it, nowadays you can get $600-700 for a car, believe it or not, in scrap.
Yeah, cut the cat
provide
out of it. There's another couple $100.
Yeah, like we use a bulk guy that picks up 30, 40 cars at a time. So he'll give
Okay.
us a decent rate on it. We don't alter it. We don't cut anything. He gets the whole car and in return gives a decent price.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other markets for it. Markets we never explored in the past. Right? Like we've started dealing for the first time with Copart.
Mm.
Right? We had a vehicle. I want to say it was a newer Hyundai Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Front end damage. Heavy enough, but the car was like a 2019.
Mm.
Right? And as long as you go through the proper channels, you get the ownership of the vehicle, you wait the period that you have to wait, you reach out to the lien holders and give them the option. Would you like to come get the vehicle and pay the bill? Or would you like to relieve yourself of the lien so we can dispose of the vehicle?
Yep.
Depending on what a bill is at, lien holders sometimes will come claim the vehicle, which is, hey, great, you're getting paid.
Yep.
Or we'll release the lien on the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you follow those channels and send these off, you're talking like cars like that, $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah.
On a vehicle that you were otherwise just going to send a scrap for $700 or mess around. Like, I know there's a lot of guys that do it because we used to, like, messing around in the yard, taking tires and rims off, selling that kind of stuff, maybe doing used batteries, like all that good stuff. Like, it's creative ways to generate revenue back out of these lost and abandoned cars. I don't have the time for it.
At a small scale, I think that can work.
100%.
Right? Like you give your drivers, hey, go out and pull the tires, cut the cats, pull the radio. I'll give you $50 each. Go do that. You got a couple of cars in there, but you still got that car taking up space. You've now made it very inconvenient to tow once you got the wheels all tore off of it and shit pulled off of it. And you still have to pay to dispose of it, right? You got to pay a driver to go and take it to the scrapyard. Yeah, you're making money off of that. But in the grand scheme of things, if you can get $4 or $5 out of certain cars, yeah, it's a great option to do. However, your area, my area, completely different. The vehicles
100%.
we get stuck with are normally, we had a regular cab, short box, long box Chev that had a weird automatic manual switched over transmission. It was weird as hell.
Like, cut
And
a
it got
hole
in.
for the shifter,
Yeah.
but it wasn't
Yeah.
automatic before, so it still had the column.
No, it wasn't automatic, but he like cut into the actual transmission itself and
Okay.
he put like something down into the actual gears of the transmission to manually shift the automatic. Yeah, it was weird. That gentleman who owned the truck originally died. So the truck got impounded. I can't remember why it got impounded, but it sat in our yard for the longest of times. And since the gentleman who owned it passed away, to be able to get the ownership switched into our name to be able to scrap the truck by going through the proper channels was a royal pain in the ass. The only good thing about the truck is it had probably about 600-700 pounds of used brakes in the back of it.
So it had some
it
scrap
made
value.
scrap value a little bit better, yeah.
But the moral of the story, it wasn't going to Copart. It wasn't going to
No.
a vehicle auction, is what you were saying. Nobody was
No.
going to buy this
Most
auto
vehicles
manual.
that we get, we're lucky. Like all the value of the car is pretty much scrap because people can't afford the $700,000 bill to get it out of the impound in the first place.
And you know what? I get it. I had a vehicle that's been sitting forever, and we have been reaching out to the owner, and then the owner, I'm going to make payment arrangements. Well, we don't do payment arrangements. Like, you can send us the money and we'll put it towards it, but like, you know, we're always reasonable with people. Like, I always, like, ideally, I want you to pay the bill and get it out.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, my patience, you know, because of the grand scale of things, runs out quicker. Right? Like, I've dealt with this a million times. This, I'm going to come in next week and pay the bill. Okay. Next week rolls around, nowhere to be found. Oh, well, my bank got frauded. Okay.
It's always
be
an
patient
excuse.
again. Right. And you know, experience the downside of experience is experience really lowers your patience because you've dealt with this a million times. You don't feel like explaining it to a customer all over again. Why for the 100th time that I don't want to do this. But you know, it's, you got to do it. But what it is, like, I've got a 2019 right now that the leasing company doesn't want back and are willing to absolve the lease. The customers keep saying they're going to come make the payments on it. We've given them over a month of different occasions, week at a time, to come up and at least come in, make arrangements, do something. And every time there's something. Right. So, like, you get those vehicles. Well, 2019 with some light front end damage on a Ford Flex, that's worth $1 still. That's not scrap value. So yes, there's going to be extra hoops to jump through, right? It is not as simple as just going to the ministry and saying, hey, this car has been at my yard for so long, I'm taking ownership. It involves sending out registered mail. It involves tracking all that. It requires waiting for the prescribed time period, right? There's a lot that goes into this, and then presenting that to the ministry in order to take, you know, control of the vehicle on paper. But it's worth it. Because you're you know, let's say $3,000 bill because it's been sitting there forever, $4,500, whatever it got up to. You're just going to write that off for $750. You might as well just release the car to them at $750. The only reason you wouldn't is because you're doing it out of spite, which I get, right? Trust me, again, with the people that we run into and we deal with, you know, not
and then word gets out, say, if you just leave that car in the impound for 3 months, they'll just end up either scrapping it, and you come in and offer them $50 more than scrap value, they'll probably take it, right? Instead of paying the $3,000 bill. But I get the hoops that you got to jump through, and unfortunately, I think that's what stops a lot of people. Is most towing companies out there, let's be frank, aren't large towing companies. Don't get me wrong, the large companies do make up a great portion. The majority are small operations, under 10 drivers normally. And in most situations like that, you've got the owner that's pretty hands-on in the business, or they might be trying to take a step back because they're at that cusp of the size that they need to be at to where they can fully step away. And they've got normally a dispatcher, office person in the office on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, that's dispatching the trucks, dealing with the impound. They're doing it all, right? And unfortunately, to get the registered mail, get the owner's signatures on the paperwork that it needs to, just doesn't normally fit within the amount of workload those dispatchers already have, right? To where in a situation like you've got separate dispatchers, impound management, your wife, and you've got separate roles, and you've got the volume to make those separate roles and those separate paychecks worth it for you. And unfortunately, just a lot of companies, those jobs all fall on a singular person.
Well, it is
And
true.
they just don't have the time.
And if you don't get the like I said, for us, it's like, okay, to get 5 or 6 cars like this, let's say we get 6 cars that you can auction off for 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're at $30,000 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But like you said, in a rural area where, you are and everything,
Yep.
you might only get 1 or 2 of
A
those
year.
a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, although it is still 10 grand,
Mm-hmm.
5 to 10 grand, it is true. If you're not well versed in it and you're not everything else, I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
The time isn't crazy, right? You can always find an excuse not to do something.
Oh,
The time isn't crazy that you've got to put in. It's harder when you have a bigger operation, because again, you have to keep track of all these vehicles coming in, making sure notices are sent out at appropriate times, making sure everything is done. It is very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And requirement changes that have come to the industry over the years aren't making it any easier.
No.
Right? You have to notify, in Ontario, an owner and any parties with interest to a vehicle within 15 days of the vehicle arriving at your impound facility. Right? You have to send that notice out. So if you've got, 4 cars coming in every day, cycling through, and one gets through the cracks, right? And oh shit, that thing's been here 30 days. We've never made a notification. You do notify it. And if they're a smart lien holder, they can come back and say, we were not notified within 15 days.
Yep.
Therefore, we are not paying more than 15 days worth of storage for the vehicle.
Yep.
And you're out, you're out money possibly, because it's A, money that would have accrued on the bill, or B, could have been a vehicle you ended up taking possession of and getting this kind of value out of, depending on the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be somewhat easier in a small town. But then again, like I said, hey, you're going to the post office once a week with any cars that have been. How many cars are left behind? Like, imagine a car gets left behind. You go, this guy's bailing on this thing. Right? Like, because we have cars that hit, like, I have had cars where I've showed up on scene and went, ooh, we're going to own this one.
Yep. All the time.
Right? We just did one the other day.
You're getting impounded for 45 days, and it's a 1996 Pontiac Sunfire with not a single colored matched body panel, and the interior's all half ripped out of it. Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to own this. Yeah. We had one just the other day. We get a call. What a weird call. We get a call from the police to go remove a vehicle from this weird property we have in town right now. It's all up in the air in legal battles and everything else. It's a little smart car that has been like windshield smashed in. The interior is all torn apart. I don't know what the deal was with it. Fire got the call to it. Fire got there, called police because the car had been, obviously looked like it had been vandalized. Yeah. And the police, so we go to the police. All right, I'll need a tow sheet for this. I'm bringing it back to my yard. No. We're not having it removed. Fire wants it removed.
Oh.
Because it's, obviously, I don't know, maybe someone tried to light it on fire a little bit or something. Like, I don't know what their deal was.
Maybe it's blocking a fire lane or...
Nah, it's, no, none of that stuff. Okay. But fire wants it removed.
Oh.
Okay. Well, bill fire. Well, that doesn't happen. Like, what?
Yeah.
But you want me to take it for them? Okay, but so when that gets back to our yard and I'm looking at this the next morning going, why? Why am I responsible to dispose of this junk? I've got no plates on this car. It's been vandalized. Like, good luck finding an owner on it. Good luck getting an owner. You can run VIN searches and we will find the owner and we will send out our notices. But I'm pretty much stuck with this thing until I can dispose of it. Like, why am I the janitor for you?
That's something I've noticed personally before. It's working on the accident scenes and stuff. Is the tow operator can just dispose of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I guess that's kind of like, in your eyes, you call us, we pick up the vehicle, you never see it again. You don't know what happens to it. You don't care, right? That's fair. That's not your job to care about what happens to this vehicle. But unfortunately, the way everything is set up for us in this industry is the vehicle comes to our storage facility. We can't just, as soon as we get it, take it to the scrapyard and see you later, bye-bye. We don't have to worry about that again, unlike what you think happens.
Yeah.
We got to sit on it for at least 90 days before we can even get the ball in motion half the time.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And then you're making off, honest attempts to contact the owner. And then, the owner's mad because he doesn't want to pay the price. We're the bad guys. All because at the same time, it's true. Like, we are the janitors to clean this up. And that is a huge problem that the industry has had for a long time. And I don't think it's an unreasonable ask that the industry has, is that we'll keep cleaning this mess up. But can you please guarantee us some sort of payment?
Yep.
Can you please enforce something that you can't abandon 1 in every 3 vehicles in a towing yard? Can you please assure us that we will get payment for a vehicle that doesn't have insurance coverage, that you call us to get out? You know what I mean? Like, you call us to clean this mess up on the highway.
Yep.
You don't, give us any information. We go out and happily do it for the sake of public assistance and clear this road. And then we have no way of guaranteeing a payment. Zero.
Yep.
Right? Like, just give us help. Like, we have had to get creative and find ways to get payment. Right. And like I said, to recoup some of these, these costs that we have associated with this, instead of just scrapping a vehicle and taking a loss on it or breaking even on it. Right. Like, we've gotten creative in those sense, but we need help with that. Right. The other thing is what encounters have you had with customers who can't pay the bill, but want to actually, instead of just abandoning it, sign over the car to your company? Like, what process is that? Just, hey, waive the bill.
A
No
lot of times we get
charge.
them to say, okay, well, the vehicle's been here, let's say 45 days. It was a
Okay.
45-day impound. How about you pay the towing portion so you get the driver paid, and you sign the vehicle over, and we won't charge you the storage. And for the company I'm with, the 45-day impoundments, anything over a 30-day impound, the rate gets dropped in pretty much half for the storage. So, like, that's just how the contract works, unfortunately, but that's how it is. So it's not even that outrageous of a storage fee for those long-term holds.
So wait, quick question. So is it after a set number of days the rate gets cheaper, or for the entire period the rate is cheaper?
For the entire period, the rate is
So
cheaper.
is it possible that a 45-day is cheaper than a 30-day?
Well, there is no real 30 days that we get.
No, but what if the vehicle's there for 30 days?
Well, no, like, if it comes in for a 7-day impound and they don't
Yes.
pick it up, it's still always that higher rate. If
Okay.
it gets impounded for anything over 30 days, it automatically falls under this cheaper rate.
It's like a long-term storage rate,
Yeah.
which I don't know if I agree with, but okay.
So let's just hypothetically throw numbers out. Your standard impound is $70, right? Per day,
Okay.
right?
You're scaring me, but yeah, okay.
Right? Your
Let's say
standard
100. Let's do nice round even numbers. $100.
Okay.
Your
100
standard.
bucks.
Okay, sure.
$100 a day
Yeah.
impound for your standard police
You're talking
impound.
a day. Oh, I apologize. Okay.
No, I was talking about a day.
Okay. Let's just still stay with 100. It's a nice round
100,
number.
right? But
Yeah.
so if you get busted for your DUI, your vehicle comes, towing fees, $100 a day storage for the 7 days, right?
Okay.
Your vehicle gets released, you pay the bill. If you get busted for a Highway Traffic Act, VIP, whatever the legal code
45-day
is,
impound. Yep.
45-day impound, you pay the towing fee, and then your storage per day is $52.50 a day. Right?
Wow.
From the day it arrives to the day it releases is able to be released. And any
then
time after that is still the 52.50.
No, you can't do that.
That's how my contract works.
You can't. Like, I agree. So, okay. We have a contract very similar to that. Where the rate is it hurts my feelings every time I think about it. So let's say the rate is $50 a day, right?
Yep.
You're $52.50, whatever, $50 a day.
Yep.
As soon as they go to the police station
Mm-hmm.
and get the release, they need a release.
Yep.
Every day after that, our storage can now go back up to that hypothetical $100 a day.
Mm.
Right? Once they get the release, because we've had that where they go get the release and then they never come pick up the car. The minute they get that release, the next day the storage can now go up to the new rate, back to our standard retail rate. But they can, like, I mean, we don't have, like, we have different police contracts and we can't. I'm trying to think of how that would work. Yeah, I guess if it stays in there, it would have to stay at the $50 a day until they picked it up or until the release was issued or until the police give us like a forfeiture. We've seen that where they forfeit it to us. We don't take possession of the ownership. Like, we just get the forfeiture paper. We increase the storage back to its normal rate. They come a week later because now they've also gotten this notice. We can charge on that rate. But that's crazy that they force you to charge a different. Is that not? I guess it doesn't go against the rules that we've created in towing, where it's depending on who's paying, the price has to be consistent.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the issues about the towing industry, and I think hopefully the new TSIA guidelines and rules and regulations can help fix
They're
that.
not guidelines, chum.
They're suggestions. Don't worry, as long as you don't get caught, they're a suggestion.
Yeah, something like
but
that.
Everything, like, especially when it comes down to contracts, like, let's talk about your roadside contracts. Everyone else negotiates a price, so one operator could be getting paid $50 per call, and the other operator could get paid $40 per call for doing the exact same call. Same thing with the police towing. There is no standardization in between from town to town to town to city, province, whatever. It's all over the board.
But
right?
You can't
I know you
have.
can't. I know you can't, but especially when it comes to police contracts, I've had it personally where someone says, "Oh, well, I got impounded by so and so over there, and it's $100 less than what you charged me." And then you say, "Okay, well, maybe you didn't get towed as far." And they say, "No, I got towed further." Like, this is ridiculous. It's for the same police, like regional police or provincial police, whatever.
Mm.
But this towing company is charging me more than this towing company. And as a consumer, I would be a little upset at that.
Yeah, I ran into that like that situation recently. So based on our contracts that we have, if I were to, depending on what side of four roads you get pulled over on, right, because it falls within the jurisdiction of one or the other, but depending on what side and who pulls you over on the road, your storage bill could be about a third of the bill of the other one, like your total bill.
Yep.
Like for a 14-day, let's throw out, let's say it's not a real number, but let's say it's $3,000.
Yep.
Right, for a 14-day, just because it's easy math.
Yep.
You could get pulled over by a different police force
on the same road, but on the opposite side.
But on the opposite side, it could be on the same side. In all fairness, because the road is divided.
Yep.
And pay $1,000.
Wow.
And what's great is I remember we had a customer that did that. Now, this guy was obviously a repeat offender. He came into our yard on the cheaper, on the, we'll call it the $1,000 service, right? He got the $1,000 service.
Yeah.
Got his car impounded, got it out.
He got the kick in the ass, but a kiss on the cheek on the way out.
100%, because it's the most ridiculous rate of an impound I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Then gets pulled over again. I don't know how far down the line. On the other side of the road, by the other jurisdiction. And the bill went to, the $3,000 hypothetical.
Yep.
And he came in absolutely just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I feel like I joked in my office, like, wow, that's the stupidity fee, right? It's a threefold stupidity fee. You get caught the first time, shame on you. You get caught the second time, well, shame on you. But it is, I get that. I could see for police work like that across the province where there could be a more standardized pricing. As for the private tows and everything else, I don't think so, because That's
No.
just free industry, right? That is just free to negotiate whatever deal you want with your customers, even the roadsides.
Yeah.
Right? You're negotiating that rate with your roadsides with a customer. The roadside is a customer.
Yep.
With the police, you're not negotiating.
Yeah.
Now with
And
Tasia,
technically with the police we're technically, the police is somewhat our customer, but they're not
no, it's not.
really.
No. Like roadsides are your customer because they're paying your bill.
Yeah.
The police are not your customer unless you're towing their cruiser and they're paying the bill.
Yeah.
Then they're your customer.
Mhm.
When it comes to legislative impounds and everything else, the police are not your customer.
Yeah.
Right? So, but it's true, you can have different rates based on different companies. And I've never had where I had a 14-day at my $3,000 rate, we'll call it, right?
Mhm.
And this guy called and we gave him the bill. And it's not cheap if you get a 14-day in Ontario anymore. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Right? To me, it's part of the penalty for your stupidity.
Mhm.
And we gave him the price and he left. And I go to my wife and I goes, I asked her, I said, how was the guy? And she goes, oh, he was thrilled. I'm like, what do you mean he was thrilled?
Hmm.
She's like, well, apparently he had been looking online and how much does it cost and and seen all these ridiculous, probably Toronto numbers.
Yep.
It's going to be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, whatever it is. And you're telling me it's only $3,000? That's
Yep.
great news.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going, never seen somebody so happy about it. Well, again, hypothetical $3,000 bill. I don't remember what the actual bill was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think people are getting accustomed to that.
Mhm.
It should be part of the penalty,
Yeah.
right? Like it's part of
Well, it
the
is technically part
discouragement
of the
process. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the penalty. You might go to jail and your car goes to car jail. But
Mm.
unfortunately, when your car goes to car jail to our impound, you can just toodaloo, motherfucker, and be
And walk
done with
away
it.
from that possible
And don't
$3,000
get that
bill.
penalty against you other than losing your ship box that you probably didn't
But
like
if you
anyway.
drive in Ontario on a highway that's privately owned and you rack up fees on it,
Yep.
you cannot renew your license plates.
Yep. But you can
But if
abandon your
a car
junk.
on the side of that same highway,
Yep.
you'll still have to pay the fees for
Yeah.
for your license plate for the use of it before you abandon it on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
But you will not pay for leaving the car on the side of the highway.
You won't have to pay to dispose of your junk that you just left there. But
Mm-hmm.
yet we can give tickets for littering.
Yeah.
But when it's got four wheels and an engine, that probably doesn't work.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna, next time I get a cop that calls me for an abandoned car somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say the only way that I'm willing to remove this vehicle is if you write the registered owner a ticket for littering. I shit you not. You don't think I would do that to a cop? I would absolutely tell them that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll make you, and I've got to, you get to know the cops pretty well and you get some friends and everything else. I'll be like, no, I'm serious. I want a ticket written to the registered owner of this thing for littering. They have not just thrown a paper cup, a paper defective Tim Hortons cup out the window of their car while driving.
Yeah.
They have thrown the whole car out the window of the car.
They've left a 3,000-pound rolling hunk of metal, oil, environmental risk just sitting on the side of the road.
I want them fined for littering.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a more than reasonable request. Depending on where you are listening, and if you have officers in your area with a good sense of humor, I would love to see if you were to try that with one of them and see how they take it.
Please record it for us.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Next time you get it, you get a ticket. You get the guy to give a ticket for littering. I'm in. Yeah. That's the hashtag TowLife challenge. Convince the cop in your jurisdiction to write a ticket for littering for an abandoned car.
Yeah.
To the registered owner, and don't let them lie. They have access to that information. They know who it is. But PlainGuy, how do they know the owner left it there? Well, it's his car. It's his responsibility. Welcome to life. It's not mine.
And it is, because if your car gets ticketed for running a red light, guess who gets the ticket in the mail? Mm-hmm. The registered owner of the vehicle.
You ever get one of those?
No, but I have been in court where people are trying to fight them.
I've got
And-
one in I got one in a tow truck years and years and years ago in Ottawa.
Mm.
And it's a very common intersection, and it's great. The only nice thing about it, and it's always pay the ticket. Like,
Yeah.
I don't bother fighting those because there's no points.
No.
Because they can't prove who the driver was.
Yeah, you just
just
pay
a
the
ticket
$400, get the slap on your PP, and move on.
Yeah, I mean, if it was an officer, it'd be a lot worse. So you know what? Like, I don't know if I ran the red. I don't remember it. I remember it's two lights that are really close together, and I probably did. It was probably a, ooh, that's yellow. Ooh, that's red.
Yeah.
But no, pay the red light cameras. But yeah, like I said, they go to the vehicle owner. It's a
Mhm.
ticket that goes to the vehicle owner, regardless if the owner was responsible.
Yep.
Do the same with abandoning a car. It's a ticket that goes to the owner,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if they were the ones driving the car.
Now, we've had vehicles abandoned that so-and-so just bought the vehicle off of Billy
Oh, I
Bob
hate
Joe,
those.
and it never got switched out of Billy Bob Joe's name.
Yep.
We had that with a motorcycle the once. The guy ditched it, wasn't insured, nothing. He dropped it on its side, got up, ran away. And it was actually a good bike too. The owner said, "Well, I got paid. I don't I don't really care about the bike.
Mhm.
I've already got my money. I want it out of my life. You can keep it."
Yep.
And sent us the paperwork needed. And some of the workers at my work fixed up and sold it because we had the ownership for it and everything.
But and that's a tricky one too, because and I've seen that a ton.
Mhm.
I've seen that a ton. We've got a repeat offender. We know this kid by first name.
Mm.
Let's call him Makota.
Okay.
Getting real creative with names here. And like every time this guy gets an impound in our yard, it's a car that's
Mhm.
not registered to him. He has a
Mm.
bill of sale, he has everything else, but the registration isn't in his name. And by
Mm.
requirements, when we have to do our notifications, we send it to the registered owner.
Yep.
And they go, well, I don't want to be responsible for this. I
Mhm.
sold the car. And I don't
Yep.
want to pick it up because I sold the car. And therefore, then it becomes a he said, she said between the two of them because he sold the car. Da, da, da.
Yep.
You are in Ontario. I can't speak for other states and provinces.
Mhm.
When you sell a car, go to the license bureau with them.
Yep.
Transfer the goddamn thing.
Mhm.
Because if not, it is still your responsibility as the registered owner of
Mhm.
that car. It is still your responsibility. I don't care if you take your letter the next day and go to it showing, I sold that car. I want it removed. Here is the new owner. You guys can
Yep.
deal with it. Register it somehow. Do something. Do
Mhm.
not let this 16-year-old kid come in and buy a car from you, give him a bill of sale, and go hope in good faith that he's going to go register it. Because I can tell you, I was 16 once too.
Mhm.
Was not known to make the best decisions when it came to
Mhm.
important life events like, that kind of thing. And then the car is going to end up in an impound because the kid doesn't have insurance on it, or he doesn't have a license, or he doesn't, one of the millions of reasons.
Mhm.
And it'll then be one of the abandoned cars in our yard.
Yep.
So save a towing company and go to the ministry and transfer the vehicles.
Yep. I started doing that as I was selling vehicles just because, well, I saw what happened. Like, you, to be honest
The
with you,
public doesn't know any
I've
of this shit. That's the
I've
problem.
I've owned junk pretty much all my life. I still own
100% you
junk.
have.
Um, I just got my truck back from the shop today. Both my front calipers seized up on my truck driving. Both of
Dodge
them at the
junk.
same goddamn time. Anyways, junk.
Poor maintenance.
Yeah, whatever. I've owned junk pretty much my whole life, and after I'm done with my junk, it's even junkier. So the people, the clientele of possible buyers for my
Yes,
junkiest junk that I
are not the
bought,
finest of
no,
entrepreneurs.
they're not the finest of folks out there. So it's okay, this is what's wrong with the cart. You want it? Okay, here's my money. Okay, let's go together and we'll hold hands and I'll whisper sweet nothings into your ear, whatever it takes. But this ship box is coming out of my name and it's going into yours. Here and now.
Here and now.
Yeah.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. It is going into your name.
Yeah, without
That is
delay.
funny. That is funny. That is funny. No, it's it's a serious problem that we have in Ontario. I know a lot of provinces have it, right? We've talked about it before. BC has motorhomes, everything else. You ever sell your cars? Oh, going back to before we get to the selling of the cars. We normally, when we have those situations where they want to sign over the vehicle, hey, look, I don't have the money to pay for the bill. You know, again, we use the hypothetical 3,000. We do a lot of the same thing. We'll waive the storage, and you're going to, and we'll discount a couple $100 off the car. You are still going to pay to cover the tow, and rightfully so. You should.
Yep.
Right. The driver had to get paid. The company's going to take the hit on the storage. It's going to make it easier for them because now they can move it into a scrap pile or whatever it is they're going to do. So there's, you know, I'd rather get something than nothing. But no, we normally will discount a couple $100. You pay the remaining balance and sign up for the car. What I hate is when they ask this question, well, what if I don't do that? Well, you don't do that. You don't pay anything, and I got to keep it here 3 months longer. Yeah. Which is a terrible answer, but it's the truth. Right? You will literally have, okay, well, what if I just leave it there?
I really wish you didn't.
Be a lot nicer folk if you didn't do that.
Yeah.
But it's true, right? Like, it's almost like you almost have to go, just please sign it over. Fine. Don't pay anything. Just sign it over. Yeah. Just so I don't have to sit and go through this whole process for the goddamn thing before I can scrap it. But there's no protections for the towing industry in that sense. No. And I'm not, you know, it's one of those catch-22s. There's no protection.
Hey, government, can you come help me? Thanks.
Well, that's it.
Thanks, Daddy, government.
Hey, government, next time you put a fucking arm length list of things together that I gotta, you know, abide by to prove that I'm a good actor in the industry, maybe you can throw me a bone and give me a little bit of protection at the same time. Yeah. You know, like while you're putting it in there, maybe slide one of those things on to keep both of us safe instead of just one party safe. Like, it's ridiculous. So no, but do you ever like, we do it a lot with our guys too, is we offer them you know, our staff a chance to buy the cars if they're worth something, right? And depending on what it is, some will safety, some we won't safety. Well, you know, it's up in the air. But yeah, you got one of those long-term staff that have done great work, you know, always been there for you. Hey, looking for an extra little, you know, beater car or whatever, hey, I'll give you a good price on this thing. You know, as long as I'm getting my scrap back out of it, like what I would have sold it for scrap. Car might be worth $2-3 grand. It's not really worth going through the whole auction process and sending it off and all the requirements there. But hey, you know, sell it to you for $500, $600, you know, scrap value in exchange for you're not paying $2-3 grand for it. It's a pretty good deal. Keeps guys happy and doesn't really cost the company much.
What's the nicest item you have been able to keep out of a car that was abandoned at your storage facility?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Nothing rings a bell right off. 100%. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. The guys go through them, and if they find stuff, they find stuff. I mean, what's the nicest thing I've ever pulled out of my yard because of a wreck? Impact guns, brand new, but those were heavy recoveries where they rode off the load in dumpsters. And man, you ever want to see a bunch of boys go dumpster diving? It was a Canadian Tire load. It was we ended up with knife sets, we ended up with impact guns, we ended up with a couple guys ended up with like ninja, like food processors, like all kinds of shit. But as like an impounded car, nothing rings a bell off the top of my head.
We found a nice jump pack in one of them.
Yeah.
Like a couple $100 jump pack that we just left in the shop for those occasions that, hey, this car's not starting. Instead of walking all the way back out to your truck to get a jump pack, be lazy. Use this one.
Well, you know what? And I think that's a good way to end the show with a question for our listeners. And feel free to comment down below over on YouTube if you've made it this far. We hope you have. What is the weirdest or coolest thing that you have ever found in an abandoned car in your yard? A car that you've owned, or, you know, hopefully not a car you were snooping through while it was still on impound. But what is the coolest or strangest thing that you have found in an impounded vehicle? I'd be curious to see that. You can send those answers, you know, to thetowinglife@gmail.com. That's thetowinglife@gmail.com. send us a message over on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. Or like we said, if you're over on the YouTube side, down below, comment, what is the weirdest thing you have ever found in an impounded car? If you want, you can send us an audio file on email. That would be the best. We'll play it right here on the air instead of reading it. We can hear from you instead of hear from us. So I think that's a great point. So on behalf of myself and the wonderful Mr. TowManG, who sits to my side 450 kilometers away, we thank you for joining us on another episode of the Towing Life Podcast. We cannot wait to see you again next week. I am going to go dispatch for the night. Take care.
Toodles. I think the strangest thing I've ever seen in a vehicle, and it was the police officer there doing an inventory. The guy was like, has anyone gone through my truck? And we're like, no. Okay. As he's pulling stuff out, the cops there doing an itemized thing. Okay, 1 Buzz Lightyear dildo, 1 box of condoms, 1 thing of lube,
and a partridge in a pear tree.